All right. Well, good afternoon. It is now Thursday, August 18th here, and we are going to begin State of the Go episode 3 on our new YouTube channel. So we're excited today to have Chris Dusky, aka Dusky, because we've got about 600 Chris's that work for the company now, who is going to be the head of operations for our new state-of-the-art fulfillment center in Calgary. So thanks for joining me here today, Chris.
Thanks for having me.
I know there's so much exciting stuff going on, with Go Direct, but I know being able to get you going up in Calgary, we're fortunate to have you come on board with us. You've got a great background, you've got a great history. We're definitely setting ourselves up for success having you join the team up there. So tell me a little bit about you and how you kind of hooked up with Go Direct and how all that came together.
Well, I was working on a contract basis with a company called Pratt's Food Service, which ended about a year and a half ago. And I decided I was going to take a bit of time just to hang out with my children and my wife and relax for a bit. I've been in the industry for almost 25 years now in Calgary and throughout Western Canada. And when I decided it was time to find a new position with a new aggressive upstart company, I started talking to Kelly, and I spoke with Alan at length. I spoke with Kelly a couple times, and I'm fortunate that Kelly made that decision to bring me on board. And I started as the only Go Direct employee in Western Canada, basically, and the focus was on a building that we had leased approximately five months ago that was in construction. When I first came into this building, the last week of May, the concrete hadn't even been poured yet. I was in here a couple times a week working with the owners of the building and working with the subcontractors that were building the office space, setting up paint colors, ordering furniture, getting the utilities set away, making sure that the building was to spec as per our agreement with the builder. Finally taking possession of the building at the end of the first week of July. Had some challenges in final construction with respect to the fire suppression systems and the strobe lights that would go off in case of an emergency, which delayed us a week and got us into a position where we were able to start bringing supplies and racking and office furniture into the building. So for the past 3 to 4 weeks, we've been erecting racking in the back. We have just over 3,200 pallet positions in a 52,000 square foot facility available to start onboarding our new customers or existing customers from other locations within the next 2 weeks. So it'll be a soft start, and we'll roll the inbound volume in and up that scale of inbound week after week by continuously onboarding new customers over the course of the first 30 to 60 days so that we can guarantee that our service to our existing and new customers is at their expectations.
Now, I've been to Calgary. Yeah, I think it was the coldest place I've ever been in my life. It was in February when I was in Calgary.
Then you haven't been to Winnipeg.
No, I haven't. And I think I still saw people walking around in shorts. But now strategically, our location there has a lot of benefits. And for those of us like myself and maybe some others that don't know the geographical benefits of where we're at, what would some of that be for new brands coming on board or that are looking to expand their reach?
So we're just outside of Calgary in Rocky View, Alberta, which is also referred to as Balzac. We are about 12 to 15 minutes northeast of the Calgary International Airport. And we're situated on the new ring road. So coming off that ring road, we're about 7 minutes from Highway 2 and the actual ring road itself. So it's conveniently located. The majority of the big players in our industry are located up in this area. We're directly across the street from Gordon Food Services. Walmart is up here, Lowe's is up here, Sobeys is up here. So this area is rapidly growing, and it's a very attractive area, and the county has made it as such. So a lot of the larger players are moving out of the municipality of Calgary into the rural areas for numerous different reasons.
Now, with the new building, I think we probably agree that I know a new building has its challenges rather than moving into an existing building, but with having a new building, you're not trying to put a square peg in a round hole for the types of services we offer. What kind of, I we had talked about it briefly earlier, like what kind of technology or services or different machinery are we bringing into Calgary that's going to really be able to enhance the customer experience?
So we have Wi-Fi throughout the building. We had that installed approximately 10 days ago. Last week, we had our site-to-site VPN firewalls and servers set up, which will house our web-based WMS system, which is called 3PL Central. All of the orders come in, are tracked through a handheld device that scans the barcode, the lot numbers, the manufacturing date, the expiry date, and allows our customers to see in live time where their inventory is in our different sites. And they can also track that product from receipt to put away to individual orders being picked in the warehouse, and also once they've left our warehouse en route to either an end consumer or one of our B2B customers.
Now, I know it's going to be a temp and humidity controlled location, but I know a lot of the customers and the brands that are going to be going in there. We're going to be doing a lot of direct to consumer orders, and explain a little bit, because I thought it was great, the type of racking system that you're going to be able to put in there so we can fulfill orders even more efficiently.
We have Interlink Racking. So the aisles between the racking setup are traditional. They're 10 feet across. The storage locations that we have set up will be customized to the individual customer's needs based on the height of the pallets that are coming in. Nice. So right now, the majority of that racking is set up at 5.5 feet locations. That includes space for the pallet, and that will optimize our space allocation for all of our customers. Now, if we have a customer that has smaller volume orders and cases, such that pick in an each or an individual item, we have span or flow rack that's gravity fed and allows us to organize up to 80 SKUs through a pick location that would traditionally hoard 2 pallets. So we can customize this racking as we go and as our business evolves in Western Canada, and make sure that we're setting our customers and our employees here at GoDirect up for success.
Yeah, I know we're excited about that, because now we can, we've already got that cross-border solution, but now we've got a true cross-border solution, with the expansion that we have going down here in the States, and then having Mississauga and Calgary. I mean, you can pretty much reach the whole spectrum of where we need to get to with our brands. Like from a transit standpoint, Calgary, like how long does it take, something typically to get to BC or to Toronto from where we're at there?
Well, from Calgary to Vancouver is about depending upon how you drive, it's somewhere between 12 to 14 hours. Okay. And we're situated on the ring road outside of Calgary at the north end of the city. And for a trailer to hop on to the ring road and hop off to Highway 1 probably takes them about 20 minutes to get out of the city and onto the highway. And it's about equidistant if you're heading eastbound going towards Medicine Hat. Medicine Hat is a couple hours east. Regina is about 6 hours east. Then you get into Winnipeg, which is again about 14. So Winnipeg and Vancouver are situated approximately the same distance away from Calgary. And if you're heading all the way back to Toronto, you're probably looking at about between 30 and 36 hours transit time.
Now, outside of your experience and everything that you bring in to the location, what do you think is going to be a strength of this location? Where do you think is going to be that sweet spot for us in Calgary. Each location they develop their own identity, and and that identity evolves and changes as you go. But what do you think is going to be the real strength of your location?
The response. We've been in a hiring process for warehouse employees for the past 2 weeks, and just about everyone that we've talked to and the individuals that we've hired are really excited to be part of a true startup for our Calgary location, to be involved with a building that's fairly open. 2 of my new hires, they've been working with the racking crew this week, which has allowed them to make quite a bit of progress. But they're very excited that the building is new, not that the company is new, but the location here in Calgary is new. And my first hire, her name is Christy, and she worked for me in the past for numerous years. She had the same experience when I first started talking to her about coming on board. She was obviously familiar with me and my management style in the past, but she's really excited to be a part of something new and learn everything from the ground up. It's not a stagnant job working in a new environment like this.
Yeah.
Christy's been working with getting signs for our location for the exterior of the building, setting up accounts with transportation, setting up simple things like accounts for getting office supplies and labels going, putting furniture together, which was fun. So there's a lot going on, and it's very, very diverse. So it ends up being a lot of fun throughout the day, and the days fly by. By the time you get here in the morning, all of a sudden it's lunchtime. All of a sudden it's time to go home, and you feel like you've accomplished a full day's work, but it's only really feels like it's been a couple hours.
I remember being down in Columbus, with that location, and going through a lot of that same stuff, and being in the building, and where you've still kind of got that new house, that new car smell to things when you walk around. And then you're there one day, and then everything changes. It's like you come back, or I'd come back a week later, and it was like, oh my God, am I still in the same place? There's just so much going on, and it happens in such a rapid timeline to make it work. And there's so many moving parts, and I'm sure you've had to deal with supply chain issues of your own, just like everybody else all over.
Certainly,
the place.
Yes.
What's been the biggest challenge from that standpoint?
Could you repeat that, please?
What's been your biggest challenge from that standpoint, from the supply chain, or some battles that you've had to fight, regarding that, maybe having to bob and weave a little bit?
I would say probably the biggest one, and this will trickle down into some smaller items, but just being able to find counterbalances and forklifts. It was an incredible challenge. Before I came on board, Alan was trying to source counterbalances and forklifts, and he wasn't having that much success. I started working with our vendor, who is RPAC, the last week of May. And to purchase a new forklift or a new counterbalance, they won't even be manufactured until the end of 2023. So we placed orders for our material handling equipment in May. The end of May, start of June is when I signed the purchase agreements for the counterbalances and forklifts, but they won't even be manufactured for another 18 months. And we won't see them for up to 20 months from when we ordered them. And showing that demand is so high, because obviously they had a lull over the past couple of years. Anything that was available for rental was scooped up. And anyone that realized that they weren't going to have access to new machinery for 20 plus months rented whatever was on the market. So being able to work with a rep from RPAC almost on a daily basis, we were talking about, does he have product? Does he have product in Vancouver, in Edmonton? Where can we find this? So we finally found our counterbalances, which arrived 4 weeks ago. I had to take them early just so that I could secure them for the building. And we struggled then again trying to find some high reaches. And finally last week they showed up in Edmonton, and I had to take possession of them on scene. They show up tomorrow, and if I didn't say yes, he had 4 other people that wanted them. So that's been a huge problem with the supply and demand, and that trickled right down to something as simple as getting printers, having to source printers and having to talk to 6 or 7 different suppliers just to get a hold of the printers that you need. And I was hearing things like, we can have this to you by the end of December. We can have this to you by the start of next year. We want to start our operation within the next month, and we can't do that with simple things like laptops and computers. So it has been a really big challenge to find our MHE, to find our hardware and software needs that are required to operate this business, and then to get them set up as well.
Now, in your terminology, I know what I think. Where do you see the biggest benefit to a brand coming on board, to us having multiple locations and being able to, you've got the locations here in the States, you got them up in Canada. I mean, there's obviously going to be cost savings. I think I talked to somebody and they're like, well, there's not going to be cost savings having multiple locations. And I couldn't disagree more. What do you think about that?
Well, of course, there's cost savings with having different locations. If you think about the transit cost, which is most likely going to be the largest expense for any customer and also for ourselves, when we're diverse in our geographical setup, the transit costs to and from specific manufacturers or suppliers to the end consumer or to the retail chains that we're dealing with, that cost is going to be significantly reduced because we can strategically set up that product in the locations that support the volume of outbound distribution.
Yeah, it just seems to make almost too much sense, from that standpoint. For product coming in from overseas, is it best to come into, is BC the best way to come in and then have it railed across, or what's the best route? Say stuff is coming from, so much is coming from China and Asia and Thailand and everywhere else. Is that the best way to get to Calgary?
Well, yes, it is. Of course, it's closest to Vancouver. The majority of the product that is distributed throughout Western Canada is coming off in Vancouver.
And I don't think there's much of a wait time, is there?
Not that I'm aware of currently. And depending upon the commodity and how perishable it is or is not, the two different choices are to send that over the road. If we send it over the road and we're using one driver, traditionally it's a 2-day trip from being offloaded to being received in Calgary. You can put a team on that if you want to expedite that and get that here within 14 hours. And if volume on hand and the lead time of the product is high with respect to volume on hand and lead time is short, we can rail it as well. And the cost to rail versus road is about half.
Yeah. Now, have you always been in that area? Is that where you're from? Or if you were talking to somebody like me who doesn't know much about Calgary, what's cool about Calgary? Or what's something that you would talk about, like, man, if you ever get here, this is what you need to experience?
So I've lived in Calgary since 1997. I've been here for 25 years. My wife's from here. My kids were born here, born in the house we live in today. Calgary's an exciting city. One of my favorite things is we have some of the best golf in Calgary.
Really?
In as far as Canada goes, and if not, there's also amazing golf between 3 to 4 hours outside of Calgary and in British Columbia. We have the Flames, we have the Stampeders. It's always fun to go in and watch one of the games. We have the Stampede in the summer. We have Global Fest, which starts tomorrow, which is a fireworks competition from numerous countries around the world. So they do fireworks displays starting Friday through the end of the weekend. That's an amazing thing to go and watch as well. There's a lot of really small and strong communities in Calgary. Just the way that it's set up, you can, in your community, you don't have to leave the community to go to get to a Home Depot, to get to a Superstore or a Sobeys. So once you get into the communities, you really don't have to travel very far to serve the needs of yourself or your family. And it's a large and growing city.
And it's funny.
When I came here, I think there was close to or just over 1 million people. And I think we're getting close to 1.4 million people in Calgary and the surrounding area now.
You know, it's funny. We binge watched Yellowstone, you know, a few weeks ago, the TV
Love
show
that show.
Yellowstone.
Yep.
Yeah. And I looked over at my wife and I'm like, I want to be a cowboy. And if you know me, there's nothing about me that says cowboy, not any way, fashion. And she's like, well, then that's what we need to do. We need to go to a dude ranch and go do that experience. And I was talking to Chris Johnson's wife last week, and she's like, you need to do the Stampede. You know, you need to get up to Calgary and experience that to kind of get the real vibe of what that's all about.
Yeah, it's the city basically shuts down for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
You can tell everybody takes their holidays at that time. There's lots of social interaction that goes on outside of the Stampede itself, individual parties and gatherings and pancake breakfasts. It's quite amazing.
How's the food? How's the food up in Calgary?
Food is amazing up here too. There's I'm a big steak fan.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different steak restaurants. You know, you end up finding your favorites, but there's probably 100 different steak locations in the city. A lot
That's
of
awesome.
farming outside of the city. A lot of, there's a lot of beef that goes on. There's 2 major beef plants that are in Calgary that support that infrastructure.
From how has it been from a hiring standpoint? And I think you had mentioned Christy. Is there, are you having issues? Are you able to find people? And I know she's kind of stuck out for you as far as what she's been able to do. Is there anybody else, you know, team wise that you'd like to give a shout out to?
I've had really good conversations with Alan. He and I haven't met, but I feel like we have, because we speak probably 3 to 4 times a week, and it's about what the business is doing, about what he's going through down in Columbus, challenges that I've encountered here in Calgary. Very supportive individual, very professional individual. It's been really, really good time working with him. I had Mark out here this past Monday. He came out when we had the server set up, because that's obviously his area of expertise. I think he's the same. He's a very professional individual. He knows what he needs to do. And he was a great help to make sure that I was set up for success as far as our server and hardware and software situations were met to our expectations, and I think we exceeded those. We also worked with one of our sister companies, Galaxy, to set up the Wi-Fi system. The 2 gentlemen that came down from Edmonton, Daniel and Josh, their work ethic and attention to detail to get us set up in 4 days really surprised me, and it was a real joy to have them down there and to be able to meet them and work with them for that handful of days to get the Wi-Fi infrastructure set up in the building.
Yeah, I know the team from Galaxy, they've got some really great things going on. I got to meet them last week at an offsite, and I know we're gonna be doing some more stuff with them. I'm gonna get them on an upcoming episode of the State of the Go. And Alan's my dude, and I know he runs for me whenever he sees me come into the building, wondering what the hell I'm gonna be bringing back to him next time. But Alan's a good guy, and amazingly, he's got some great dance moves that I was able to witness last week. But that'll be for another show.
Cool.
Now, when I know you've got some long days and some trying days and a lot of stuff going on, but when you get a moment to break away and chill for a little bit, what is it that you like to do?
I made mention of the golf courses. Love to go golfing. I have my son's 13, my daughter's 17. My daughter's not around the house that much. She's quite independent, but I do enjoy spending time with my son and watching him grow up. He's a little more interested in, can you teach me this? Can you teach me that? I think my daughter's past those days, and she thinks she's probably learned it all, but she hasn't. But I spend a lot of time at home, like to get out to the golf course, And there's quite a few mutual friends that are in the city that my wife and I have that we like to hang out with on the weekend.
Well, you look pretty relaxed with everything that you've got going on. You look pretty chill up there, man. So I know I like to
Takes
play
a
a little
bit to
golf myself,
get
so I'll
me
make sure I
excited.
get up there. Pardon?
It takes me a bit to get excited.
I certainly get that vibe, but there's going to be a lot going on up there in the next, 30, 60, 90 days. And I expect probably by the end of the year, the building to be at capacity and running smooth. And we'll be looking for the next location up there to expand what we're doing up there. So, Dusky, thanks for joining me today. It's been a pleasure learning more about you, learning about your team, what we've got going on up there. We're going to be definitely doing some more marketing pieces, talking about what's going on up there. Anybody who's listening to the show, make sure you go to the website, www.godirectsolutions.com, to learn more about what we've got going on, learn more about Calgary, Mississauga, Columbus, and our entire Western expansion down here in the States. So thanks, Chris, for joining us today.
Thank you.